You want to relive those feelings that you got while you were watching that? Then go and watch at Bravest Warriors on YouTube. Also on the 3DS. Was it really? Interesting. Little angry bean brows are great. Yes. I love it. But yeah, Percy, that's what that bottom right picture, that's what that reminded me of, and that's why I love it so much. Okay, sounds good, Raven. Okay. I think I'm ready to continue. If you are ready to receive words. Hold on, I'm looking something up really quick. Okay. We're good. Did that in less than a half an hour? Huh? Yeah, dude. It didn't take you long at all. Guys, I love art. I love art so much. If you have art and you're proud of it, put it in the Discord. I would love to see it. I don't care if you think it looks like shit. I would like to admire your artwork. I've said my piece. The next chapter is called Run. You have to hide. She scrambles through the dark, pushing through branches, weaving around trees. Behind her, voices call out, shouting, searching. They speak words she recognizes but doesn't understand. Sweeps of light cut through the woods, frantic. If they find her, they will drag her back to some terrible labyrinth. She trips, tumbling through the dirt, branches, thorns. She crashes onto a stony basin and clambers to her feet. Keep moving, keep running. They're almost upon her, light throwing shadows, contorted, flickering. She picks up speed, breaks into a clearing, and lurches to a stop at the edge of a cliff. Hundreds of feet below, shallow water, jagged rocks. She looks back. The pursuers are near, fighting through the thicket. There is nowhere else to go. She jumps. The ground rushes up, eager to meet her. In one quick and terrible snap, everything turns to nothing. A pitch black void. Once they're in, they never leave. What a fucking intro for a chapter. Holy shit. The phrase repeats in her head, flitting with the sing-song rhythm of a deranged limerick. Once they're in, they never leave. A pale blue light forms in the distance. Once they're in, they never. That was the whole chapter. What the fuck, dude? What was that? Oh my god. Do you think that was Eve's dream? Do you think Eve is getting the same dreams and images that Thomas is in her sleep? I should show you the evolution of the D&D character from the poster, because geez, a year and a half of progress shown through one character. Please do. I would love to see that. It was still dark out when Eve jolted awake, heart pounding. She'd been having a nightmare, but of what she couldn't remember. Only the vague aftertaste of dread remained. She sat up and looked around. Both Charlie and Shiloh were still asleep. She slid her feet off the bed and rubbed her temples. Her head throbbed. a low, aching pulse like a distant war drum. Was she hung over? From 2 glasses of wine? Either way, she needed water. Out in the hallway, the door to the study was ajar. As he passed, she glanced inside. The family was sleeping, scattered across cushions and foam mattresses. Moonlight spilled in through stained glass window, lending their skin a pallid hue of green and red. She descended the stairs. Down in the kitchen, Eve stood over the sink, sipping tap water from a dirty wine glass. The strangeness of last night was fading, and so was the storm outside. By sunrise, the family should be gone. The whole ordeal would be nothing more than a weird campfire story. The family with the sleepwalking father and their hide-and-seek daughter. Ready to return upstairs, Eve set down the glass, gliding into the living room, and the basement door was cracked open. The rather innocuous sight triggered a flood of questions. Wasn't it closed before? Had Jenny stuck back down there for a look for her pen? To hide? Please, God, not again. In a huff, Eve marched over and threw open the door. She gazed into the uninviting dark. A dim wedge of moonlight stretched downward, the blurry shadow swaying tree layered over the coarse brick. She called out, "Jenny?" Her voice tumbled down. No response. She was about to call out again when she remembered the 2-part pattern, the one Thomas had used before. It was a long shot, but she reached up and tapped her knuckles against the frame. Da, 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 da. Lingering silence followed. No answer. With a shrug, she turned away and had slipped into the foyer when behind her, around the corner, down at the bottom of the basement stairs, 2 hollow knocks echoed. Knuckles against dry wood. Jenny. Eve bolted back and slid around the corner, almost falling. She caught her balance on the doorframe and peered down. Jenny? Squinting, she forced her eyes to adjust, but the shadows were stubborn. She was about to leave, go get a flashlight, when, at the bottom of the stairs, a small silhouette, motionless, child-sized, shrouded by the shifting darkness. Jenny. Eve crouched, making herself smaller, the same way one did when trying to coax the attention of an unfamiliar cat. "Hey, Jenny," she said, almost whispering. "Do you think now would be a good time to come back upstairs?" Jenny remained silent, unmoving. Eve cleared her throat, changed strategy. "If you come back up, I bet your dad will tell you more secrets about the house." Jenny's head tilted, but otherwise she remained motionless. Now all Eve could see was the slightest glint of moonlight in the child's eye. 2 white flecks in the distant sea of black. There was something off about her stare. Almost like Jenny was trying to tell Eve something without saying a word. A long silence dragged by as Eve's eyes slowly adjusted and Jenny wasn't blinking. 10, maybe 20 seconds had passed, and she hadn't blinked. Not once. Suddenly, as if in reaction to Eve's realization, the figure rose up to standing. It wasn't child-sized after all. It had only been hunched down. It rose to its full height, over 6 feet tall. Slender, gaunt. Eve, in one quick motion, jumped to her feet and slammed the door shut. She scrambled upstairs in a cold sweat as she raced down the hall. She glanced into the study. The whole family was still there, still asleep. She burst into the main bedroom and shook Charlie awake. What? Charlie mumbled. There's someone in the basement. Charlie blinked. The kid? No, an adult. Charlie rubbed her eyes and pushed up to sit. One of the parents? No. In the basement? Eve nodded. On the stairs. Charlie frowned. Is this another mistake of a bush for a black bear incident? She seemed to be thinking. Was it dark? Yeah. Are you sure it wasn't a trick of the light? Eve scoffed. I know what I saw. Okay, Charlie said, still unsure. Even Shiloh looked skeptical, curled up at the foot of the bed, one eyebrow raised. I'm spent, said Charlie, and still a little drunk. Can we figure this out when the sun's up? Charlie, there's a stranger in the basement. I know, I believe you, but not enough to look around half drunk in the pitch dark. Let's do it in the morning. Morning. That's only like... Charlie looked at the alarm clock. 3:27 a.m. A few hours away. Charlie, I'm serious. There was... Eve, I'll look when the sun is up, okay? Eve took a deep breath and let it out. Despite herself, she relented. Okay. Maybe Charlie was right? In her mind, Eve replayed the image of that figure rising to its feet. The brick walls, the shifting tree branch shadows. Now she was less certain of what she'd actually seen. And no, there was no way that was a trick of the light. She opened her mouth, ready to try one more time, but her partner had already fallen back asleep. Charlie had this uncanny ability to doze off in seconds. Didn't matter the time or the circumstance. Earth-shaking construction next door? No sweat. Plane full of crying babies? Who cared? Girlfriend freaking out about shadow person in the basement stairs? Good fucking night. Eve looked over her shoulder and peered into the hallway. She listened for the click of the basement door, the creak of the floorboard steps, anything, but there was only silence. Eve huffed, marched across the room, pushed the door shut, and locked it, just in case. She sat up in bed after that, arms crossed, eyes glued to the door, vigilant. Whatever she'd seen, it hadn't been a trick of the light. This wasn't another Redwoods incident. Right? As the minutes crawled by, her eyelids started to grow heavy. Okay, now we're getting into some shit. A 6-foot shadow creature in the basement? Oh my god, and the illusion that it was fucking Jenny, just for it to stand up to its full height. Oh, that gave me chills. She really is gaslighting herself. She doesn't need anyone to do it for her. God damn. Oh my god. This is good. Okay, we got another one of these half chapters. Hold on. Blurb from Rhode Island Daily Paper. Date unknown. There was a fire at the Kent County Memorial Hospital around 9 a.m. Today, its origin has been traced to a shattered gas lantern found in the basement. The building was safely evacuated and no lives were lost. At this time, police and fire provided no further details. That's important. That's important. This right here. Memorial Hospital. No way. Really? What the fuck? That's messed up, man. Can you imagine that? That would be so fucking traumatizing. 19-year-old kid in Canada? Jesus. May 2023 versus October 2024. This poor man has been through it. Oh, yeah, fucked up, dude. Holy shit. What did I come back to? A real life horror story. We don't really know what happened so far. They're investigating it, but it happened this week? Jesus. Jesus fuck. Okay. We are just about an hour and 45 minutes in. So I'm going to call a stretchy break. We're going to take 5 minutes for ourselves, okay? Whatever you're doing right now, take a little breaky poo. Stand up, stretch your legs, grab a snack, grab a blanket, whatever you need. Hit your douche flute. I, for one, am going to go get water because I am out. On a side note, it was called Nintendo Video Service, and it had Bee and Puppy Cat, Bravest Warriors, Dinosaur Office, Shaun the Sheep, and many other things. Really? I didn't know that. I didn't know Nintendo had a video service. Also, Nintendo, if you're watching this, put Netflix on the fucking Switch. For the love of God. Or any streaming service. Figure that shit out. I want to be able to take that shit with me. Fucking get it together. I'll be back. I'm gonna go get water.
What's that smell? Was it you?
Oh. Delay? Oh no. Not again. I'm gonna move the mic around right here.
What's that smell?
Was it you?
Was it you?
Aaron Stink. You were so close. Oh, I want to do another charity stream. Maybe we'll make Saturday a charity stream. And at $500, I'll get a mullet. A $500 mullet. Do we need? Oh. 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 I feel like you could pull it off. People told me I could. Charity for the mullet. With the curls? Yeah, maybe. I probably could. I just hate mullets. But for charity, I'll do anything. There's two little excerpts in a row. I didn't know. There's more. Hello? There we go. When did it cut out? What was the last thing you guys heard me say? My favorite silent film. Thank you. Thank you. I'm back. Ugh. My nose is itchy. Ah. Started adjusting the mic. I must have touched it wrong and it just fucking bugged out. That's my guess. That's weird because it didn't turn off. It just stopped. I don't know. Gotta bounce. Eeps and got schools. Raven, thank you so much for hanging out with us. I appreciate you. And I hope you have an absolutely lovely night. Good night, Raven. Sent a couple of links, one with it. Ugh. One with the info and the other to D&D Beyond where you can claim the character. Ooh, fuck yeah. At work, I cut my leg on what and why? Much love, House Aaron Percy. House's sink. No, leave the sink alone. You might be pissing in it, but you don't know it like I do. You don't know it like I do. I'm kind of curious about this character now, though. I'm looking. If we should leave the sink alone, leave the pool alone. Do you see this hat? That's your answer. Ooh. Ran into a piece of metal? You shouldn't do that, Morgie. Aaron, knock it off. You just like the warm feeling on your leg when you do it. No, that's ridiculous. Necromancer? Pop the Goblin. Mid-manager level. I like this. I like this character a lot. I like this character. I'm okay. I tore a little skin. That's good. I'm glad you're okay. Running into metal things does not feel good normally. Necromancers are cool to fiddle with. Don't fiddle with anyone. You know, everyone shits on necromancers, but they're really good guys to raise a family with, you know? Gary got it. I think that's the dumbest joke I've ever made on here. Okay. I'm done. All right. Necromancers are the healers that showed up a little too late, but they do get the job done. They do get the job done. Radio broadcast transcript from KCVN 90.5. Date unknown. Good morning, folks. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the fire at Yale City Town Hall early this morning. As of now, foul play is not suspected, but the fire chief tells us he's unwilling to rule anything out. We'll be sure to keep you posted as more info comes in. For this and everything else, keep your dials turned to KCVN. Ooh, foul play, you say? The next chapter is named Wake. A thin ray of sunlight crept up the walls, across the bed, and beamed into Eve's left eye. Turning away, she reached for Charlie, only for her arms to wrap around empty space. Charlie was gone, her side of the bed cold. Shiloh, however, was still curled up at the foot of the mattress, asleep. The dog whimpered, her legs twitching. A nightmare? Eve leaned forward and scratched her behind the ears. Her whining stopped, but she did not wake. Reclining back against the headboard, Eve crossed her arms. The storm had now subsided to a whispering breeze. Ebbing swells. Aside from that, it was quiet. Had the family left already? She could only hope. With a languid stretch, she yawned and climbed out of bed. A sense of tenuous calm fell over her. Once more, all the strange events of the day before seemed distant. like foggy remnants of a nightmare. The figure on the stairs? Perhaps it was nothing more than a play of shadows or even a sleep deprived fever dream. It was the devil, Mo whispered. Whatever it was, Eve shoved it down into a container of repressed anxieties. A mental cabinet that stowed away all her worst paranoias. Though it was more like an overstuffed bunker these days. An underground safe with a steel bolted hatch, bulging at the seams with cartoonish exaggeration. Sometimes the rivets would burst, and every single one of her deepest, darkest fears would spew out and rain down all over her psyche. Then Eve would have to go around and clean up shrapnel bit by bit, stuff it all back inside, screw down the hatch, and pray to God she didn't leave anything behind. Inhale, exhale. Still dressed in sweatpants and a baggy t-shirt, Eve meandered down the hallway. The smell of eggs, bacon, and coffee wafted up from below. Charlie's favorite breakfast. Eve smiled. Downstairs, she shuffled into the kitchen, and in an instant, her smile vanished. Paige and Jenny were at the table. Paige was reading aloud from a red leather Bible while her daughter listened, or pretended to. The two boys, Kai and Newton, were nowhere to be seen. Thomas and, more importantly, Charlie were also absent. Morning, Eve. She leaned to see Thomas standing at the stove, crackling eggs in a cast iron pan. How do you like your eggs? He asked. Where's Charlie? He adjusted the burner heat, jostled the pan. She just left for town, said something about, Mom? Newton poked his head around the corner, his round glasses making his big eyes look even bigger. Kai's opening a box. Paige blinked at him. A box? I don't know. His eyes flicked to Eve, then back to his mom. Like a moving box? I told him we don't touch things that don't belong to us, and he told me to F-word off. Paige, partly annoyed, partly embarrassed, looked at Eve. I'll take care of it. She said this with the conviction that left no doubt she would. Careful, she set down the Bible and strode out of the room, telling Newton to keep an eye on his sister. Eve, stress levels rising, turned back to Thomas. He was humming an off-tune rendition of Black Sabbath's Iron Man riff. Obviously, to Eve's growing irritation, she cleared her throat. Who said you could use our kitchen? Oh, he suddenly looked embarrassed. Sorry, I should have told you. Charlie was kind enough to offer it. I hope that's not a problem. It's just a bit of a trek to the nearest diner, and why did she leave? Charlie? He flipped an egg. She said she had an urgent meeting. Thought she would have let you know. Eve furrowed her brow. It wasn't like Charlie to leave without checking in first, especially considering the odd family being here. Oh, right. Thomas pointed at her with the spatula. And she told me to tell you the basement is all clear. Not sure what she meant. Eve figured it was a reference to the lurker on the stairs. But again, why hadn't Charlie just told her that in person? Thomas, finally sensing Eve's concern, said, Are you all right? Eve didn't reply. She was too distracted by the fact that Charlie had just up and left. The fact that his family had made themselves right at home. On top of that, all the strange occurrences from the day before were bubbling back up like a bad lunch. A knot formed in her chest. Her breath shortened. She checked the time. 9:15. Jenny had been found. The storm had been settled. The bridge was open. The family should be long gone. Eve? Thomas prodded. Is everything? Why are you still here? Thomas opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He was caught off guard by the question, offended even, as if he'd assumed they were besties by now. He scratched his nose. We're leaving right after breakfast. Is something wrong? Grumbling to herself, Eve retreated into the foyer, despite having no evidence of outright malice. She didn't trust this family, not one bit. And again, why had Charlie left without saying a word? Eve had to call her, make sure everything was all right. When she reached into her pocket, her fingers grasped air. Lint. No phone. She racked her brain, trying to remember the last time she'd used it. The night before. Broken screen. Foyer staircase. She looked around. It wasn't there. Must have left it in the bedroom. Back upstairs, she checked every nook and cranny. The dressers, beneath the bed, even under the mattress. Nada. She stomped downstairs. In the living room, she searched around the coffee table, under the couch, between the cushions, but still nothing. Lose something? Thomas called out from the kitchen. The whole family was sitting around the table now, eating. Eve stood up. I need to borrow a phone. Thomas shook his head. We don't have phones. She blinked at him, unbelieving. He went on. Modern day family, no phones, in the middle of a cross-country move. He shook his head, as if surprised by it himself. I know how absurd it sounds, believe me. Uh-huh, Eve said, more than a little skeptical. He elaborated. We just started a digital fast through our church. The whole congregation handed their phones to the pastor. At the end of the month, he FedExes them back. No cell phones, no screens, not until then. His eyes flicked the page. It was her idea. Right, said Eve, still not buying it. What if there's an emergency? That is an excellent question. Again, Thomas glanced at his wife, deflecting the blame to her. In that case, he said, we're allowed to borrow a phone, but... Paige interrupted. If there's an emergency, then it's part of God's plan. Of course, Eve said. The power of prayer. She was feeling a little more snarky than usual. Maybe it was the lack of sleep. Maybe it was the fact that this family had used up the last of her favorite coffee beans. Probably both. Paige started to say something more, but Eve marched off, ready to continue the search. Perhaps her phone was in the cellar. What if it had slipped out of her pocket? With newfound resolve, she swung open the basement door and the dark stairwell greeted her, marred by uninviting shadows. An instant flashback of the figure on the stairs played in her mind. She slammed the door. Fuck that. Back in the foyer, she slid open the coats closet. Charlie's winter jacket was gone, as were her boots. Eve peered out the window. Charlie's parking spot, the alcove at the edge of the woods, was empty. No truck in sight. So far, everything matched Thomas's version of events, but she's probably locked up in the basement. Mo stirred awake. Eve could almost see his crazy eyes snapping open, like a vampire in a coffin, bloodthirsty at the chance to raise paranoia. You'll be next. Imaginary Charlie, the voice of reason, countered. Or maybe, just maybe, I actually had to go into town for something urgent and didn't want to wake you? Eve supposed Charlie's counter was more likely, but she wandered back to the living room. The family, unaware of her presence, was still eating, laughing about something Jenny had just said. The scene was oddly normal, wholesome even. Had she let anxiety get the better of her again? She took a deep breath, let it out, and told herself everything was fine. Everything is okay. She grounded herself. White door, brown floorboards, leather couch. Her heart rate slowed, breathing tapered. She calmed. But then something caught the outskirts of her vision. She turned. Across the living room, above the fireplace, hanging from a crooked nail, Charlie's locket. For a second, Eve didn't trust her own perception. She narrowed her eyes and drifted closer, as if drawn by some unforeseen force. Sure enough, it was Charlie's locket, hanging limply from one of the nails Eve had removed last night. Somehow there was a sinister mockery in the sight, a marker that something terrible might have happened to Charlie, and this was the only thing left of her. Wary, she reached up for its brass chain only to pull back at the last second, as if it might transmit a deadly shock. Shaking off the incoherent thought, she lifted the necklace and stepped back. She turned it over in her palms, studying it. Flicked it open. Inside, as expected, was the blurry portrait of her shooing away the camera, hiding her face. The only known photo of Eve Palmer. She clicked it shut and tucked it into her pocket. She looked back into the kitchen. Had someone from the family done this? Stolen Charlie's locket and mounted it on the wall? Not only that, but put back one of the nails she'd removed? She supposed it was possible, but why? Was Charlie responsible? Some kind of weird joke? A reference to their conversation the night before? No, that didn't make sense either, or... Her gaze flicked to the basement door. A small shiver ran down her neck. I'm going for a walk, she said aloud. The words escaped without her brain's approval, like some part of her, deep and primordial, was forcing her to get the fuck out of here. Get away from this family, that basement. Thomas, chewing on a mouthful of eggs, looked at her. What's that? She started toward the foyer. I'm going for a walk, borrowing a neighbor's phone. Oh? Thomas wiped his mouth with a napkin. Well, we'll show ourselves out when we're done here. Thanks again for... Sure. Eve slipped out of view. Get to a neighbor's house. Call Charlie. On Granny Square 5 of 13, pray for me. Aaron, you've got this, dude. For that Necromancer short joke, I gave you some shorts. Dude, I hope it's the Necromancer shorts. Galaxy, welcome in, dude. How are you? Why is it called We Used to Live Here? That is a very good question. Why is it called We Used to Live Here? You know me so well. Dude, those shorts are my favorite. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. At first glance, Charlie's disappearance, totally normal. She seems very independent, right? Like, even if she normally does tell Eve if she's leaving, I could see her being like, you know what? Eve had a hard night. I'm just going to let her rest. I'll be back soon. It won't be a big thing. The family will be gone as soon as they're done eating breakfast. The phone disappearing is weird. The locket on the mantle, I don't even know what to think about that. Why the fuck would Charlie do that? If you know that your partner's freaking the fuck out about weird shit happening in the house, why would you do something like that? Something that you know they're going to stress about. You wouldn't. You wouldn't. I get the odd feeling that Charlie is not coming back. What if none of them did it? Just like stuff that happened to Thomas's sister. That's what I'm thinking. I don't think there's anything wrong with the family. I think something is upset with Thomas's family, right? Like when he lived there originally, they upset something. And now that Thomas is back, it's causing a reaction with whatever's in the home. Because they'd been there for a while before this family showed up, right? It might be attached to Thomas, but he did say that he hadn't had the night terrors for decades. Yeah, no, if you use the last bit of my coffee, fuck yourself. Couple weeks, I think. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. That's what I'm getting, Percy. That's my idea. Is it's reacting to him returning to the home. And now it's latched on to Eve somehow. Because she said that one sentence that he had said the night before wormed into her brain, right? That seemed unnatural. That seemed extra, like it's trying to point something out to us so that we don't forget it. Something very important. Like the parents and him and his sister pissed off something and it's after them. Yes. I think that's exactly it. That's the impression I get, anyways. That's the idea. All right, I'm going to read this little excerpt before the next chapter. Description. Copy and paste of a conversation on rare toy forums.net. Typos and other errors have not been corrected. User Iris197. I'm looking for this weird toy my cousin used to own. It's a monkey with symbols, pretty similar to that one from Toy Story 3, except he's got white fur, clear plastic symbols, blue felt overalls, and a straw hat. I've researched literally everywhere and can't find anything. I think the company was called Riley's Fantastic Toys or something. Please help. This is driving me crazy. Edit. Changed symbol spelling to symbol. Oh, there's more. Oh, this is the whole post. Interesting. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, no. Well, if it comes back to you, we're right here. You're all good. Reply number 1. True Collector 1. You're not the first person to ask about the Straw Hat Monkey. I don't know if you're all just 4chan trolls, delusional, or both. Either way, such a toy does not exist, and neither does Riley's Fantastic Toys. It's a juvenile internet hoax. Also, FYI, questions like this should be posted in a What is this toy subforum. Edit. And the monkey from Toy Story 3 is correctly referred to as the Daishin CK's Jolly Chimp. I understand you're not an expert, but you could at least do the bare minimum of research before posting. Edit. Also, please use apostrophes. Jesus Christ, what a fucking prick. What a fucking asshole. I should really go EP, but I'm invested. I know. What time is it? You know what? I'll tell you guys what. We'll finish this excerpt and we'll read one more chapter and we'll call it a night after that. Does that work for everyone? That way I'm not keeping everyone up super late. And then I can also get some sleep. I'm off tomorrow so I can stay up late. I know, but I gotta do some EPs as well. Get some relaxing in. 2 a.m. for me, and I've got classes in the morning. I'm too invested. I want to do this when people are available for it, so I don't want to ever do any readings too late in the night. On the weekends, absolutely. Boo, you whore. It's okay. We all need sleep. We do. Reply number 2. Wordler115. What the fuck? I've been looking for this exact same thing. I asked my siblings about it, and they said they never existed. Creepy. It's like the Mandela effect or something. Reply number 3. Only says monkey 13. Monkey. And then it's a text image of monkey. Monkey. Why does it have balls? Like a massive fucking cock. Except me? No, you need sleep too. You need sleep too. Reply number 4. User Navidson27. Mandela effect? Reply number 5. Tripster115. Explanation copy and pasted from Wikipedia. The Mandela effect was coined to illustrate an occurrence in which a large number of people believe that an event has occurred, which, in fact, it has not. Example, many people mistakenly recall Nelson Mandela died in prison during the 1980s, but in reality, he passed away in 2013 from prolonged respiratory infection. Reply number 6, Evergreen 12. Personally, I think it's either some glitch in the Matrix stuff or an unintended side effect of Project Red Bag CIA memory wipes. Here's a list of famous examples. Bernstein Bears versus Bernstein Bears. Everyone remembers it being Bernstein Bears, but in reality, it's Stain. Monty's Popcorn versus Monty's Popcorn. It's spelled A-U, Monty, not Monty. Darth Vader didn't say, Luke, I am your father. He said, no, I am your father. JFK assassination. This one is a little before my time, but a lot of boomers insist there were 6 people in the car when he got shot. There were only 4. There are countless other examples, yet people still believe everything the MSM tells us. Shake my head. Reply number 7. Nada 12. Yo, Evergreen, every single thing you listed can be explained by bad memory. Also, there were 6 people in the JFK car. Reply number 8. Delete gate. Hey, Nada, look into it more. I think it could be proof of altered timelines slash parallel world theories, in my opinion. Reply number 9. Welp, red pilled. It's proof you're a sub 70 IQ fucking moron. Reply number 10. Aaron Admin 13. I'm locking this thread from going off the rails. OP, per true collector's comment, please post any inquiries in this nature to the What Is This Toy subforum. And to everyone else, keep all conversations on the topic civil. Thank you. Oh my God, Aaron, I didn't know you were a mod in this subreddit. I had a big nap earlier and I won't be sleeping till like 6 a.m. for a couple of hours probably. No. The insomniac in me says no eep, but I want to be able to pottery in class. Yeah, that's a good idea. University, but it was when my mental health dropped so badly, so I ended up dropping out. I wish I had been able to actually do that class. It sounds like fun. It really does. I think I'd enjoy pottery. All right, Percy, since you're invested, bro, when we finish this chapter, you let me know how you're feeling. Okay? If you're wanting to stay up for another chapter or two, then we'll do it. But if you're saying that you need to sleep, then we'll cut it off for the night. We'll go off of that basis. Ooh. The next chapter is called Stray. No way, dude. Percy, that is so sick, dude. A bowl in the shape of an avocado. The duality of man. Holy shit, dude. I love that so much. I took a 3-hour nap, so I'm awake. Yeah, I'm pretty awake too, but I think if I tried, I could go to sleep. As Eve trudged across the front yard, Shiloh followed. The dog's ears were perked, tail wagging, just happy to be outside. That made 2 of them. Out here in the moving air, away from the family, it was easier to breathe, to think. Eve's plan was simple. Go to the nearest neighbor's house, 3708 Heritage Lane. Borrow their phone, call Charlie. If what Thomas had said was true, if Charlie was in town for something urgent, then for the most part, Eve would relax. If she couldn't reach Charlie, then she'd put all of her focus into getting that family out of her house. More and more, she had this feeling that something was seriously wrong with them. That maybe they were in league with that figure on the stairs. Of course, she had no proof of these suspicions. And she was no longer certain about what she saw on the stairs, but once they're in, they never leave. She paused at the top of the driveway. Muddy tire tracks were grooved into the slush, leading down and bending out of view behind a cut of trees. More confirmation that Charlie had at least driven off. Of course, it wasn't enough to shut Mo up. Like always, he was there, waiting on the wings with 100 reasons to panic. Still, she did her best to ignore him. She scanned the woods, her breath smoking in the gray morning light that filtered through the trees. The snow had stopped falling. The first signs of thaw were setting in. Speckling drops raining from the branches above, forming streams snaking down the winding drive. At this rate, all evidence of snowfall might be gone before sunset. Good. After an arduous trek down a slippery drive, she reached the road. The family's moving truck was parked on the shoulder, all covered in a thin layer of dropping, translucent snow. It looked oddly uniform, as if an outgrowth of the ground below. Only its metallic underbelly was exposed, reddish black. Above the truck, a rusty street sign was bolted to a tree. Heritage Lane. It had always seemed an odd name for a back road surrounded by wilderness. In Eve's head, the moniker conjured up an image of a gated community, one with pretty little symmetrical houses and elderly neighbors peering out through flower box windows. The kind of neighbors who saw Halloween as a chance to hand out toothpaste and Bible verses. But this Heritage Lane, like her house, almost looked abandoned. The road, uneven and narrow, was riddled with baseball sized rocks. From the flanks, tree branches stuck out at crooked angles, like arms grasping through prison bars. It stretched on for a few hundred yards, sloping until it met the stark white sky. There, hemmed in by trees, was a thin slice of panorama, snow-capped peaks poking through the clouds, islands in a sea of white. She lingered there, taking in the view, breathing in the crisp air. Mountain birds chirped strange songs, songs she'd never heard before. It all reminded her how truly isolated they were, how if anything went wrong, help was so far away. Aside from a handful of neighbors, most of whom didn't live here during the winter, the closest structure was all the way down near the base of the mountain. A single pump Chevron gas station. A few miles past that, the Kettle Creek Motel. Or at least that's what Eve assumed it was called. She had mentally filled in the blanks from its falling apart neon sign. The Kettle Creek Moat. All it took was a passing glance to conclude the establishment had been long abandoned. Another 10 minutes past that, just over Kettle Creek Bridge, the town of Yale. One way in, one way out. Again, the realtor's warning played in her head, stirring up memories. Sediment from the bottom of her psyche. She was pulled back to the first day they'd gone to look at the property. Charlie's truck had been in the shop, so Dayton, the realtor, offered them a ride. Dayton was a slight, graying man, and everything about him, from his physique to the way he spoke, felt contradictory. Despite his small stature, his voice was deep, a gravelly baritone, a kind of timbre that would almost narrate movie trailers. And he seemed plucked from another era, like he'd been more at home wrangling cattle on the frontier or bayoneting Krauts in the trenches. Instead, there he was, dressed in a canali suit, peering over the steering wheel of a Mercedes sedan. Lots of strays out here, he had said, breaking a near 10-minute silence. Stray dogs, he clarified. More than one, more than the usual amount, anyway. They were about halfway up the mountain when he decided to raise the topic. Nobody knows where they came from, he went on. Some folks call it Stray Dogs Summit. I don't, but some do. He adjusted the rearview mirror. You end up buying the house, try using that name with the locals. Down in Yale or even Portland, they'll be impressed. Tell them you live on Stray Dogs Summit and... He clucked his tongue. Eve and Charlie glanced at each other, unsure if he was finished. After a few more seconds, Eve opened her mouth to say thank you, but before she got thank out, Dayton started up again. Name doesn't make much sense. There's no strays at the summit. They're all down at the base around the creek. That's why I personally don't call it that. Stray Dog Summit's a misnomer. Short pause, and then he added, I figure Stray Dog Creek doesn't have the same ring, though. Eve chuckled politely. Dayton shot her a serious look in the rear view. He wasn't trying to be funny. Back in the present, the distant crack of a hunting rifle pulled Eve out of the particular memory. She cocked an ear to the sky, the echoing blast fading with each repetition. The morning birds paused briefly at the interruption, then carried on as if nothing happened. It was a 308 rifle, Eve guessed, the same gun type Uncle Benji used to hunt with. Out here, for better or worse, the sound had become a part of the natural landscape, like the howl of a coyote or the cry of a hawk. It had earned its place. Refocusing, Eve plodded forward. Shiloh was chipper as ever. Every so often, the dog zoomed ahead, poking her nose down in the snow, zigzagging, sniffing. Then she'd pop her head back up, looking to Eve for some kind of approval. Each time her snout was capped with a little pile of snow, and when Eve said, "Good job," or "Good girl," Shiloh shook it off and repeated the process. The sight of Shiloh being Shiloh never failed to calm Eve. The neighbor's house was farther than she had remembered, at least a 10-minute walk, and the driveway was half hidden by overgrown branches. She might have missed it altogether if not for the address. Brass letters nailed into a gnarled stump. 3707. Wasn't it 3708? She peered over her shoulder, down the long stretch of road. The pines bowed inward, tunnel-like, obscuring the view. I probably skipped a property. Either way, it didn't matter. Turning back, she descended the narrow drive. It wound through windswept woods, then opened into a square lot. In the center sat an olive green bungalow, an L-shaped box, with a flat-top roof and shuttered windows. Out front, mottled with patchy snow, was a minimalist Japanese garden, encircled by a frozen pond. This property, surrounded by unruly wilderness, looked more than a little out of place, as if it had been ripped out of a Portland suburb, helicoptered across the state, and surgically implanted here. It was quiet, though, peaceful even. True seclusion, nestled away from the road. As they crossed a small stone bridge, Shiloh staggered to a halt, eyes fixed on the water below. Eve carried on, but the dog stayed behind, staring down at the pond, mesmerized. Beneath the murky ice, white koi swam in lazy circles. Eve called out, "Shiloh, come." The dog gave a brief glance. "I understand what you're saying, but I do not care." She looked back at the fish, barked. "Come," Eve repeated, firmer. After two more barks, Shiloh scampered to Eve's side. The dog looked up to her, expecting a treat or at least praise. Eve shook her head. "Too slow, bucko." "Exactly. Too slow indeed." "I'll make an avocado bowl." Aw, that's sweet. It's going to be more for jewelry or keys to be put in. I actually have something that someone made that's for that exact purpose. And it has the leaf print of a leaf that he'd pulled off of his property. And that is one of my favorite possessions. Sounds exactly how I thought of it. Pop in tow. Eve pressed the doorbell with her thumb. A three-tone pattern rang out, warbled, dissonant. As she waited, she hugged herself for warmth, wishing she'd put on more layers. Was it getting colder? She wrapped a scarf over her face, the woolly fabric scratching against her nose. A solid 30 seconds passed. She tried the bell again. Still no answer. Was anyone even home? There wasn't a car around, but Eve squinted through the textured glass, cupping her hands around her eyes. The inside was dark, save for a faint wedge of yellow light casting from a narrow hall. She tried the bell once more. Another long stretch of nothing, and then the light snapped off. Eve huffed and stepped back. Guess they didn't want visitors. Regardless, it was probably time to return home, scour the house for her phone, kick that family out, and can I help you? She turned to see an older woman standing on the stone bridge. She was lightly dressed, considering the cold. A thin sweater and blue corduroys. Hey, Eve started to answer when, to her shock, Shiloh trotted right up to the stranger. The woman smiled. Well, aren't you the cutest little thing? Her voice had a tinge of southern drawl. She lowered herself to one knee, reached toward Shiloh, then stopped and looked up at Eve. Is it okay if not British, Southern. Is it okay if I... Jesus, fuck. Is it okay if I pet her? Eve gave a wary nod. The woman scratched Shiloh behind the ears. Who's a good girl? Yes, you are. Shiloh's tail started wagging. Eve stood there, lost for words. Never before had she seen the dog so comfortable around a stranger. In any other situation, Shiloh's trust might have been comforting, but with everything else going on, it only raised more alarm bells. You're the new neighbor? The woman pushed off then her knee to stand. Yeah, my name's Eve. You bought 3709, right? God damn it. The songs keep talking to us. Southern and British, very similar. It's okay. I got confused for a British woman a lot. Listen here, you little shit. I'm about to make her British if you all don't knock it off. There was a hint of something in the question. Judgment? Pity? Eve couldn't tell. Still, she nodded. I was just wondering if I could use your phone. I lost mine, just trying to reach my partner. Of course. Walking up to the door, the woman searched her pockets. It's Heather, by the way. Nice to meet you. Heather, still digging through her pockets, asked, You okay? No matter how hard Eve tried to hide it, people often sensed her anxiety, like it was a piece of broccoli. Forever stuck between her two front teeth. I should have kept reading. I was like, what does that even mean? That makes zero fucking sense. Yeah, Eve said. I've never seen my dog so relaxed around a stranger before. Heather smiled, pulled out a carabiner of keys, and started rifling through it. I used to foster strays, she explained. They called me the dog whisperer. Not so bad as titles go, I suppose. Eve, half to herself, mused, Stray Dog Summit. Hmm? Oh, Just the mountain. She gestured around and gave a weak smile. Stray Dog Summit? Heather blinked at her, still not following. There's, Eve cleared her throat. Aren't there a lot of strays out here? Not that I've heard of. Eve replied with an awkward, huh, then let it go. Thanks, Mr. Dayton. Heather unlocked the door and pushed it open. She gestured inside. After you. Eve hesitated. You don't mind the dog in there? Heather shrugged. So long as she doesn't judge the mess. I'm a cat whisperer. I'm a fart whisperer, me personally. I can tell a fart before it comes out. It's my superpower. It's what I do best. Doc A05, cold. Description. Excerpt about the strange side effects of hypothermia. Source unknown. News article? 1987. Creighton, Saskatchewan, Canada. Last night, a young married couple was found dead in their home. The cause was immediately apparent. Hypothermia. Their electricity had gone out in the middle of a severe winter storm, and they had no backup generators. Their poorly insulated prairie bungalow did little to protect them. Should be noted that they had an Oldsmobile in the garage with a full tank of gas. Why they hadn't used this to stay warm is a mystery. The bodies were discovered in unusual places. The husband, 28, was found in the master bedroom, lying under the bed. The wife, 26, was curled up in the basement corner. The dirt floor beneath her had been clawed away. The soil was found under her fingernails. These actions can be explained by the phenomenon known as terminal burrowing behavior, the uncontrollable instinct to shelter or dig when faced with imminent death. Although modern humans don't normally burrow for shelter, the extreme stress of the situation's demise seemed to induce a primal mammalian instinct to burrow or hide. A sobering reminder of our long ingrained evolutionary instincts. Whew. I have a cat staring me down right now because of the yarn. I always thought that was kind of a myth, but now that I think about it, they just like stringy things that wiggle around. So that it makes sense. Also, a ball of yarn, I feel like they would enjoy just getting their claws into, rolling around with. All right, Percy, how are you feeling, bro? Let's hear it. You want another chapter, or are you ready to go to bed? She's obsessed with it. That's cute. So hard to do anything with her around. Yeah, that's fair. That's valid. I am very eepy. I really must go to bed. I almost passed out during that. We don't want that. It is Betty by time. We will pick up with the next chapter, 3707 Heritage Lane, at another time. I think if I do stream tomorrow, I would like to play games. So I will figure out another time to continue our reading. Maybe if I have a short work day on Thursday. Games, yes. Yes, games. Good night, Percy. Thank you for hanging out with us, homie. I appreciate you. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful night. Get some good rest. You deserve it. I don't think I'm gonna raid out. I think I'm just gonna go to bed. Oh. just gonna call it for the night. If you guys are looking for some chill streams to go hang out in, Frostbite is live, and oh no underscore please don't. They're playing Cult of the Lamb. They're very fun to watch. I enjoy their streams quite a bit. Oh, but yeah, if you guys want to go chill out there, have some fun, do your thing. I will post more about the drunk Skyrim scream in the Discord. Good night, Jacob. Hope you had an amazing birthday. Because of all of you and the people in my life, it was fantastic. It was beautiful. Good night, friends. Good night, Morgie. Thank you guys for hanging out with me, and I'm glad you're enjoying the book because I am enjoying the book. I'm enjoying reading it to you, and I will continue to do so. Whenever I do like the readings, like when I know I'll have time for it,
I'm gonna clap those cheeks.
Oh, are you now? I will let you guys know in the Discord. So you will have at least an hour head start. Night House, have a great night and a wonderful birthday. Thank you, Gary. Thank you all. To everyone else, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. And I just want you to know that I'm proud of you. I love you. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your night. Sleep good, everybody. I shall see you later. I actually have a tiny dick. Why does that woman in the top right look like Jennifer Coolidge? Donnie, this one guy looks like you. That guy right.
What was the joke again, Aaron?
What's the difference between a chickpea and a garbanzo bean?
No idea what.
I've never had a garbanzo bean in my face.
Oh my god.
That is not where I thought that was going. My brain.
How could this be? I've entered the afterlife, but I felt no pain.
Looking painless death.
The shit stains on my boxers are gone. Am I in heaven or hell?